Welcome back, people. This is Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. I'm your boy, Mr. Prez, and with me always, the man behind the scenes, the man working this video right now.
It's your boy Cash, aka Exec P. Bonus episode, Patreon exclusive. What's going on, people? We appreciate y'all. So we had to do this one for y'all.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we did these. I don't think we did a leadership one in a minute, right?
No, it's been a minute. I think 50 Cent was the last one we did.
Okay. So found some other books pertaining on those topics that we said we does. Like if it pertains to like hip hop, we'll see about looking it up. Stumbled across this book that's written by Russ in 2019. My fault. I don't usually do this. Cash, you want to tell them what we're doing and what we're about?
It's cool. Yeah, it's Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. We're about music, sports, the culture, and what culture you ask. Black culture, hip hop culture, entertainment culture, all of that. So really, essentially what it was is like, I'm a huge fan of Russ, how he approaches music, his independency, and the free game he gives out all the time to artists. So over time, Prez and I've had our spats in terms of what Russ is and what we like about him musically. But one thing we couldn't deny is like he did have some gems in terms of information just on how to succeed and how he made it. Whether we agree or not, is some things that we feel like the average Joe to the people who are in self-help stuff can benefit from. So this is the reason why we wanted to tackle it. Then number two, what makes us qualified to even talk about this to you? We got 40 years collectively of non-commissioned officer, senior non-commissioned officer experience in the military. We've led up to 50 people, right down to one person. So that's what makes us qualified to break down these leadership lessons from our perspective. They have nothing to do with our military affiliation, but it has everything to do with our experience and how we'll continue to move in life. So this episode, this is what it's dedicated to. Top 5 leadership lessons. Prez, can you tell us what the book is about?
I like that you gave the people buy-in to like why we should be qualified, but hey,
why they want to hear from us.
They should want to hear from us just because we're us. But the book is Russ, It's All in Your Head. And I think great title, great for a self-help book. Because one of the biggest hurdles that I feel like you always got to do is get out your own damn way. You know what I mean? You're going to be the reason you ain't doing something is because you're holding yourself up. You haven't did it yet. Right?
Yeah.
So right off the jump, when I seen this, I was like, okay, I'm interested. And as Cash alluded to, like me and him, Russ songs, I like him more as a feature artist than I do as like listen to his whole collective. But Cash loves him as an artist. So I'm trying to buy into everything that he does, trying to open up my ear. Like maybe it's something that I'm missing. So I don't mind going down this path and listen to what he said on leadership. May don't agree with everything that he's doing musically, but I could agree with the way he think about his whole leadership process and what he builds success at. So
for sure, man. But let's not hold people up. Let's get them right to it. Since I Was Broke, chapter 2. Prez, how do you feel about it? How does that resonate with you as far as a leadership opportunity?
Yeah, man. Like, so he spoke on this one about outside validation. You got to believe in yourself. Nobody was with you when you was broke. So who was believing in you then should be the same person that's continue driving you later on when you got some success. And that should be you. You should never step outside of that. I agree with that portion of it. I don't totally agree with his definition of broke. That's for another story though. But I mean, his broke is very different than my broke. But everything else is good. The information was good.
And For me, man, it was just like self-belief. Like that's like one of the biggest parts that you have to have in whatever you're doing, whether it's you're an entrepreneur, part of a team, like you have to sell the people in what you're doing. You know what I mean? So if you establish that repetition and when you come to a new organization and things, whether they are well-oiled machine or whether things are effed up, you got to get, if it's on the latter part and it's effed up, you got to figure it out and get it to where it's a well-oiled machine so that you guys continue to keep doing what you're doing. And then when more things are levied upon you to do, it will be no problem for you to gravitate towards whatever's levied upon you because you've been doing the same things that were levied upon you. So I really like that since I was broke, you got to work like you already there. You have to, because without it, how can you, it's like a ball player. You shoot how many jump shots, so when that time comes, when a spotlight's on you, you know, you got people on the sideline screaming in your ear, you would take that same jump shot, you would toss that same pass the same way you did in practice because it's just muscle memory. So that's the same way you have to act when you're broke and when you're rich, because it's always something to attain to, which is perfection, which is not really attainable, but you keep striving for it. You know what I mean? So I like that chapter 2, since I was broke.
Yeah, many different iterations of this. Fake it till you make it. Basically, just saying like if you already acting like it, when you actually get it, you seem like you're already supposed to have it, like you've been there, and it's like you've been doing this the whole time, basically. You know what I mean? And all that starts with self belief. So since I was broke, all
All right.
right. You
So
want to hit them up with the next one?
yeah, the next one is chapter 4, boomerang. And Perez, you want me to lead with this or you got it?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. So it's all about trust the what, F the when. You can't put a deadline on success. So this really, for me, resonated from podcasting and what we do. I applied it to that and not really the business world. And I'm sure Perez probably will give you an example. But this is a business. So I think we can swing it there, Perez. We know that right now we only have a certain amount of subscribers, certain amount of listeners, certain amount of people who check our shit out weekly. But it's not to be cocky. We know we're doing dope shit, but it's just not reaching the masses right now. So that's the only thing that we're working on, is finding ways to reach the masses. So don't keep beating your head against a wall trying to figure out how to stand out, be popular, and do all that. Keep making quality content, but figure out how you are going to get to where you necessarily need to go, doing the same things you've been doing, but don't quit, because you can't put a deadline on when you're going to be great. There's countless examples of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at Issa Rae. You know what I'm saying? She started from a YouTube channel, and now she got an 8-figure deal with HBO and Warner Brothers. A YouTube channel, bro. So imagine if she said, I'm giving this 2 years. If I don't blow up, I'm done. You know, so that's what I take from it, Perez. What do you take from chapter 4?
So when it's talking about boomerang, I took from it just like, hey, you got to practice on all your skills, your training and stuff now. So when it comes back around for whatever you're doing, what you was building, like you already got the basics down and it's down packed and smooth. So you can replicate that success again, or what is going through it. So you may don't, like if you saying equating it to the podcast, you may don't have all the views and stuff now, but still work on your inner craft here. So when it does pick off, you ain't left with what do I do next? You already know. You done got that process going. You know, it's just a daily thing to you. So it's just coming back around to that same thing. If you're in the business world, it's your training and everything that you're doing. If you take that as serious at the beginning, when it comes back to when it's time to perform, you're already doing it. Like it's like clockwork to you. So you got to treat everything like that. forget the when or what we're gonna do when we're over here. Don't worry about that. Worry about what you're doing right now. Perfect it. So when it does come back around, everything is just that much easier for you.
All right. So number 3, chapter 9, naked. Vocalize what you want to the universe. Embrace your vulnerability. Self-love. I love that. I love that chapter, man. I love that chapter because I'm so conscious of who I am and what I am and how I come off to people. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to vocalize what I actually want without feeling like, oh, do I feel like this to this section, that section, or the other section? But if I don't say I'm gonna be great, Prez and I are gonna be, in the top 5 podcasts in the music section of Apple or Spotify, if we don't say that, then we'll never strive to it. You know what I mean? But you got to put that out in the world because it drives you to success. Will you ever get to it? Maybe not, but it doesn't stop the work ethic. And I think that approach is a very good approach to have to anything, because you can equate it to the business world as well, man. Like, because I'm just saying, right? When you don't put it out there what you want, people will never know. Think about it. Mentors, Prez, that you've had in your life. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some people have come to you, but I'll take a page out of one of our good friends' book, Jamie. He once told me that, fam, you got to go to people and ask them to be your mentor. Everybody ain't aware that you want them to be a mentor. You know what I'm saying? It's top down and down up. You know what I mean? So if you don't vocalize, hey, I want to be the CEO of this company. I want to be this rank within your military or whatever prestigious title it is. You got to let that be known so people know what you're striving to. Don't be humble. It's like, being humble will get you looked over real quick. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you talked about these 2 chapters, like they kind of fit in together, because I think if you look at it in Boomerang, in a sense, where we were saying like, don't worry about the win, but that's not saying don't worry about when you're going to get the results, but you still got to worry about what your ultimately goal is. So you got to put your goals out there, and they have to be up there for you to visually see, so you know what you're achieving or what you're chasing after. So yeah, it fits into that portion. Like you gotta be able to see your vision by putting it out there completely, and then if you're reading it daily, if you're striving to go get that, then there you go. But you don't have to put a deadline on it when it was talking about in the Boomerang, right? But you gotta vocalize what you want to do. Like you were saying, vocalize it and put it out there so you can achieve it, because or else that self-doubt is going to creep in, and it's going to be like, oh man, this is too much over my head. But if you're saying it every day, it seems a little bit more achievable.
Ready?
Cool. Yep.
Cool. So chapter 3, I'm going to read off my notes real quick. Appreciate the process. For example, we do modest numbers on a podcast. We'll never lie to you about that. But we have an insane amount of confidence in Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. The key from there is find beauty in wherever you're at. Sorry, Prez, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and correct you on one thing. You say we do modest numbers, but our following are consistent. Like, so that modest number is numbers that we do on the regular, and it continues to build. So it is like we are seeing progress in that area. But the believe in yourself, like I think there's a couple of different parts there where you say you got to manifest it, which we just talked about in naked, and don't make it delusional. And yeah, like the ultimate book is talking about self, like what you can do internally to help you get here. So the formula is just constantly just believing in yourself. Don't let self-doubt creep in at all throughout the process. So I think one portion up in here, I think this was the chapter that he talked about it, where he was talking about Joey Badass came to visit at one time when he was at a studio and everything, and him working in that same space as Joey Badass, what kind of gave him the the belief that he was on the right path and he was doing it. And then later on in life, he's headlining the show and he's bringing out Joey Badass to perform a song at one of his shows. So that's kind of like the full circle. And it still came from that belief that he never quit at the beginning. So that's believe in yourself, man. It's going to be a lot of different avenues. It's going to be stuff that come up in life that try to divert you off your, like, make you pivot off get off your pivot foot for whatever you're going forward, but you can't come off that. You got to have that strong enough belief if you really want it. And just think about it. Most of these people who want success, a lot of people say they want it, but not willing to give up everything for it, right? So then it's that question of do you really want it? The people that we look up to that are the greats, the Kobe books that we talking about, now the Russ, and then the 50 Cent book that we talk, all of them we look at, we idolize them in this look, and whatever they was performing in, was it music, sports, whatever, but they gave up a lot to make it happen because they believed in them. Like, they gave up all that extra time to put in. That's what you got to continue to do. So,
and it's crazy that you bring up the Kobe book, because I remember vividly where he was talking about he would travel to an opposing team's state, city, or whatever, and then he would put up shots in whatever high school gym he was at, and it was like relentless with that. If he went 1 for 12 one night and he missed a bunch of baseline jumpers, that's what he was working on. Now, if you can equate that to your job in the business world, if you know you need to do X, Y, Z to get a certain position, you need to put yourself in that position. Come up with a timeline. Start working on trying to get that Microsoft Excel or PowerPoint certification. Start working on that professional management certification. It's whatever industry you're in, there's a way and a path to where you can make yourself undeniable to a certain extent. I know there's other extenuating circumstances. I understand that. But there's a way to put yourself out there on paper to where you're compared with the greats in your company. You know what I mean? And you have to do that because that's the only thing that's going to separate you. But you have to find the beauty in that grind, in that daily studying, that part of where, okay, for this hour, I'm gonna study like this. I'm gonna get 100 questions. I'm gonna get an 85 out of that. You know what I'm saying? And if I don't get an 85, I'm gonna test again. I'm gonna test again and again until it becomes like repetition to where you get it and you understand it, and then you move on. You have to find beauty where you're at in the process. And I can go on and on about that point and how when you're editing press, you get excited. And I know you excited when you text me about some shit about the audio. I may not be excited at the moment, but I get it, because when I find out something different when we're editing the podcast or learning how to do something, I'm happy about it because it's just something that I found different that I can add to my toolkit. Does that ultimately be seen by anybody else that's viewing it? Absolutely not. But you got to find beauty in the fact that you leveled up. You leveled up in your know-how. You know what I mean? But that's what I took for that. Last chapter, number 5, chapter 13, emergency. Putting something off until later means it won't happen. Work like you don't have time. Prez, I know you got something for that, brother.
Okay, because I know you're going to go down the road with us, so I'll go ahead and speak on the business model and stuff like this. So everything is emergency. So utilizing what we grew up in, the military way of thinking, the military way of leadership and everything. And it's you're always striving for that promotion test, right? But there's a lot of key factors that go into just testing for promotion. So the minute you make a promotion, you already got to be looking at that next promotion. What is it going to take, and what are the things you should be doing? So as you going into that promotion, you should have already been hitting up the things that they expect you to do at that position. That's how you got promoted. You should be now going into it doing the stuff that it takes for that next position, because you're working. That's what you're working to try to be. You trying to make them realize that, hey, no matter what, I was already doing it, so you might as well just go ahead and give me the pay, because you already built me up to do this right here, right? So you got to treat everything like an emergency, like on that sense. If you want it and you want to, your goal is to climb up that ladder and make it up to that, then don't give your time to actually celebrate too long. You know what I mean? Celebrate that you made something, but is that the end goal? If that's not the end goal, get back on the grind and keep going and working and working and working and working to make it the next thing better until you can actually reach your goal, which I'm telling you, as you go up, your goal is going to constantly change. Most people love the grind and the process of getting to a goal. So as they see themselves inching closer, they'll move that goalpost to keep them striving to move forward. If you don't, you get settled into something, then that's when you're probably going to end up getting fired or let go, or
or you can hate the job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can hate the job and you just at a stagnant point. So shit, it is what it is with that. You got several different things. But what I was going to say is I'll give you guys a brief, I'll just say kind of where we're at as DSC podcast when it comes to that. So several years ago, our man Sean said, yo, we should start a podcast. Everybody thought it was a great idea. Never went anywhere. And then in 2019, we got it started.
2018, right?
No, 2018 we said we're gonna do it, but 2019 is when we actually started. So yeah, 2018 was when we did our end of year wrap up. It was terrible audio, video. I don't even think we had video, but anyway,
no, we didn't.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. But anyway, it was a start. We didn't sound good, but we've had a fucking blast doing it. So that made us want to start researching, doing what we could do to kind of get better, or at least get to a point where the other podcasts that we listen to. But it kind of took 6 months, you know what I mean, to get where we needed to be. But we did it ultimately. But it was like 5 years prior to that we could have started. And if you just think about what the progress we've made in 2 years, we're just shy of 2 years of actually podcasting, and all of the pitfalls and highs that we've had, though, we could have been in such a crazier space, you know what I'm saying, as far as podcasting. So that just goes to show you, don't ever put off what you feel like is destined for you, because those are the 10,000. The 10,000 hours begins when you start. You always put behind, because there's always going to be somebody in your field that knows a whole lot more than you and knows the ins and outs of everything, or they've been practicing in their field or their craft. So don't wait. If you want a promotion, if you want to do something different, do that shit. Now you got to plan for the pitfalls of it all. Don't get me wrong. But you have to find time to do the thing. And does that mean you're going to have time for all the other things that you like to do, like Netflix, playing PS5 and all that shit? You might have to cut that shit out. Whatever is excess in your life, cut that shit out. Add what you want to do, and then become immersed in it. Because if you don't, you'll never achieve it. You'll never achieve it. But you gotta get into it like that, or else, it'll just be something else that passes you by. But yeah.
And there you go. Back to our top 5 leadership. So what we had chapter 2, Since I Was Broke. This is where he talked about, being you got to treat it the same way when you're broke, when you're rich, you know what I mean? And if you give it that same attention, then it's not gonna, the fame is not gonna get to you or whatever, right? Then we had chapter 4, you had the boomerang that's saying like, always operate the same. So when it comes back around, you're used to it. You're just flat out used to it. Then you had the naked was chapter 9. So naked was about cash.
Vocalizing what you want to the universe.
Yep. Yeah. So you gotta put your goals up there. You gotta write it down. You gotta tell people. You gotta make it seem achievable, like every single day. That's what you gotta get out of it, right? And then chapter 3 is the formula, is where you mixing all that together to actually, achieve, which all starts with believing in yourself. You can't ever waver off that belief. You got to constantly put it back in, right? And then we had chapter 13, the emergency. When you say something is what you want to achieve, you got to be all in for it. You have to be all in for it. Don't sit there and stopping and smelling the roses. No, if you haven't achieved that goal, it's thank you for the compliment, and keep working. Get back in that grind. Don't ever sit there, oh man, this person said, we did this so nice, or I got this promotion. Man, I'm here. Like, nah, that wasn't the goal. What was your end goal? Get back on the grind and keep working. And that's what you got to do. Or else you're going to lose it just as quickly as you got there.
Excellent synopsis, Prez. But with that said, this is Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast. If you're reading it right here, you can catch us weekly, Tuesdays at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast, or Don't Sleep Network. Type either one of those two things in, and you're going to find us. Go check out our whole catalog. We talk about music, sports, culture. We got a little bit of something for everybody. So check us out, share it, like it, and spread the word. That's all we ask that you do. It costs you nothing. Any last words, Prez?
Yep. This was Russ. It's all in your head. Short read, short audiobook, whichever one you want to do. Very good, valuable lessons in it. I suggest you listen to it. Or if not, just take our couple takeaways and, keep it moving.
For more episodes, catch us on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Spotify, SoundCloud, and wherever else you listen to your favorite podcasts.